Good morning, wherever you are. My name is Robert Coolen from the Cervantes Group. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us for the joint webinar between SAP and the Cervantes Group on cinema backends that don't have to be mission impossible. First of all, who's talking? My name is Robert. Also with me is Frank Wheeler from SAP, who's the head of Sports and Entertainment International Business Division for SAP in North America. And he'll be talking later about SAP's commitment to this market. So what are we going to talk about? First of all, the back-end horror story that some cinema chains experience and are actually all too frequent. And then we'll talk about how to fix some of those problems and show you where we have successfully solved those at one cinema group called the ArcLight Group. And we'll share some of the best practices of what we have learned in the process. The SAP will then talk about their commitment to this marketplace, and we'll spend as much time as we can answering your questions. So here we go. Are you living this nightmare? So let's first say, what are back-end systems? So revenue growth and customer retention are understood to be driven by just giving the customer a better customer experience when they are going to the movies. And cinema groups have invested a lot in customer-facing front end, such as digital projection. But that has really run its course in the United States. 98% of all cinemas are now digital, whereas a couple of years ago that was only at 70%. So that's really happened already. How can you really, in a marketplace which is relatively steady, how can you increase revenue and help your customer loyalty that makes customers come back? Well, you can invest in front end, but what is often forgotten and not invested in enough is the back end systems that manage your finance, your operations, where you schedule the availability of people, where you do the analysis, where you plan ahead for the future, etc. So all those things that also underpin ultimately a better customer experience. For most cinema chains, as we understand it, it's really a situation where the back-end systems are separate systems that have either grown organically or through some previous acquisitions. They're not really integrated with each other. So you have manual, and then you have a number of manual systems where people are running around still with pen and paper and clipboards to manage things. And then it's often held together with a bunch of spreadsheets for people who are desperate for the type of information that they need in order to do their job. That's really kind of the nightmarish picture that you have. Very difficult to kind of plan and manage things on that basis because you don't have transparency. And when you have the ambition to grow, there's really limitations to it because your systems are not helpful. And therefore, these current systems, these current state of the back-end systems, don't really help you to facilitate growth. So where we have worked with the ArcLight Group, this now enables them to really kind of have systems that show you the money, help you find those metrics such as total revenue generated by patron, do some analysis based on attendance by type of customer who's coming, and what are the trends, looking at where the revenue is generated on the box office at an instant, trends in the concession as well as the detailed type of information on those concessions and more. And then a lot more information also to analyze and plan. If you have good back-end systems, they can now avoid these kind of stockouts, not running out of stuff. And they can also track down where shrinkage may occur, right? Because in the end of the day, a cinema environment is one in which there's a lot of cash going around, a lot of goods moving, and with limited information and little transparency, that's obviously a tricky situation that can lead to abuse. They have found that with these other systems, they can pinpoint, and they've actually had some really good stories about where they were able to pinpoint where fraud was taking place and take appropriate action in a matter of hours. But it is really, in most cases, really a question of being able to predict kind of customer demand and plan for it and control your inventory, find out where the goods are, find out what the money flow is, and manage accordingly. Another aspect of these systems and the industry itself is the labor situation is different from many other industries. We all know there's a very high turnover rate in this particular segment because we use labor typical transient labor and with not necessarily a high level of IT skills at the cinema level. How do you basically deploy a sophisticated back-end system with that kind of a labor situation? Well, you apply technology that is appropriate for that environment. For instance, what we're using is the latest version of SAP back-end systems, which has a very easy to use interface for role-based type of deployment. You don't need to teach people all the stuff that they don't need. You only need to teach them the stuff that they do need in order to do their job. So that's for the head office type of staff. And then at the cinema level, we're using a number of mobile applications because those people don't sit obviously behind desks all day. They're highly mobile all day. And in order to get their transactions into the system and manage with and through the systems, we've deployed a number of very simple, very streamlined mobile applications that require no training. So because you don't necessarily have those same people kind of on an ongoing basis, very transient workforce, very mobile. We want to keep it simple and streamlined in order to work with and through that system. The other aspect of that is putting a number of things in the cloud is also a way of centralizing basically the need for any kind of IT skills, whether you have that still in-house or whether you want to outsource that. A cloud deployment of your backend system is one way in which to basically abbreviate all those investments and delays that are usually associated with putting a sophisticated backend system in place. Putting it in the cloud allows you to concentrate on just how to best use the system, not necessarily as to how to manage the back end and create all the infrastructure required. That usually takes quite a lot of time. So what has this resulted in for this particular deployment that we're talking about? Well, our methodology has helped ArcLight to implement this in just 12 weeks, measured from the moment of the software key delivery to them going live with the system with finance and procurement for about 100 users. So with our rapid implementation methodology with templates, but also using the standard high-end version of SAP, not some sort of a baby system. This is the full SAP functionality, because we believe that that gives you the best possible position to avoid customizations that cost a lot of money, quite frankly, and slow you down and avoid customers from taking advantage of the latest version. So if we can avoid that by using a highly functional system and guide people through the best way how to use it, still in a record kind of time, then you really get the best of both worlds. And then hosting that all in the cloud, again, means that you don't need to invest in a lot of technical SAP-specific type of skills, because all of that is basically done in the cloud for you, and you can manage that as a service level, as opposed to that being a thing that you need to manage yourself. So, in the words of our customer that you will see in a moment, David Bent, the Vice President of Theater Accountant for ArcLight, the longer the implementation goes on, the more that it costs. If you can do that in 12 weeks, that's obviously a very different type of proposition. And to put that in perspective, the industry standard really is more like 16 months to implement a sophisticated back-end ERP system. So 69 weeks, we did it in 12, and obviously that means you get a much faster return, because all that time that other people are implementing, you can operate that system already. Therefore, ArcLight reckons that they got a return on their investment in just 5 months on this system, which is unheard of. So let's now kind of look at the system itself. I gotta warn you a little bit. There is the videos is not a platform such as this for conference calls is not necessarily the greatest video deployment platform, but we wanted to show you nevertheless. So here's our customer.
People want something different, something new. If we want to entice them to come back, we need to give them something new all the time. We operate movie theaters in the west coast of the US, and we have a couple of locations on the east coast as well. And they believe very strongly that when you go to the movies, there should be nothing in your way. We just want you to come in, enjoy yourself, go home. When you're having 27,000 people come into your building over a weekend, you need to know what you've got and what you need and where it needs to be and when it needs to be prepped. We introduced S4 HANA Finance, and we're also using the procurement applications for ordering and for receiving. Before we implemented SAP, the systems were essentially holding the company back. They were creating a vacuum behind the company that if we went and expanded, the amount of effort it would have taken to run the business would have just stopped us from expanding. Very fortunate to work with Cervantes, who did the implementation for us from beginning to end. We implemented all of this in 12 weeks. After 4 months, we've got about 38 million transactions sitting in the system that we're then using Fury to query and provide management information back to the users. When you look at the cost, in my experience, an SAP implementation, the longer it goes on, the more it costs. We have better integration between SAP and our point-of-sale system, not only for the products that we're selling in the restaurants and concession stands, but also the actual movies themselves. For the first time ever, you're actually going to know what your inventory is. Their ability to move quickly really has been enhanced, so they can be out there in front of the customer dealing with what they're good at, which is interfacing with the customer. Reliability of data. We're a nickel and dime business. We don't do 10 transactions a year of $10 million each. We do 15 million transactions of $5 each or $10 each. So we need extremely good internal controls. On a Monday morning when the film's finished playing over the weekend, you can't do anything about the business. It just happened. People have gone home. They didn't have a good experience. They're not coming back. So it's extremely important to us that we are able to act on real data in the moment and actually do something to make those people have a better experience. And I think that's the real business impact.
All right, so we're back. Hopefully you were able to see that. What we will do is also send you a link to this video, which is posted on YouTube, so you can watch it on your own end in case that wasn't a fully HD kind of deployment for you. Okay, so let's wrap up this part of the presentation by showing you a couple of the things that we've learned. Let's call it the 10 commandments of how to go from Nightmare on Elm Street regarding back-end systems to being a top gun. Well, I think the first thing you can do is to work with the best business software in the world, which is SAP, because that gives you the comfort that not only are you going to get all the functionality that you need out of it, it'll also kind of stay with you, because this is used by the largest companies in the world. So whatever level of success you are going to experience in the future, you will be able to use this platform. So jumping there to the number 10, what you can do and what we are offering is to basically use this platform and not have to change it every 2 years as you're running into the limitations of your platform again, right? This is something that can stay and that can grow with you at whatever level of success you will experience in the future. Taking that kind of software that also gives you the best possible starting point to avoid those customizations that take time and extra money and are really things you want to avoid. Put it in the cloud allows you to avoid the investment necessary in SAP-specific kind of skills. Right? You can just use the best software in the world. You don't necessarily need to manage it. Somebody else can do that for you, and you can get that as a service level through us. Then obviously it makes sense, a couple of things, to work with people who know what they're doing. You heard David Bent from ArcLight kind of saying what he thought that it did for him, and hopefully we can do that for you as well. Our methodology is based on kind of taking you through it step by step, making a plan that makes sense, involving the users at every step of the way in ever greater level of detail, communicate in order to come up with a system that works within 12 weeks. And then the type of technology you want to deploy in this industry is making it very easy for people who are having a highly transient, low IT skill type of workforce use mobile apps to engage them in very streamlined applications that don't require training and don't assume any kind of IT level of skills, and still have them work with and through the system to get your data in, so you can have your control and your data as well as your data for planning and just manage that better customer experience. All right, so now let's look at, now let me hand you over to Frank from SAP to talk about his commitment.
Hi, thank you, Robert. Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Frank Wheeler. I've been with SAP for about 11 years now, and 4 years ago I was asked to start up a new industry, help start up a new industry in SAP focused on sports and entertainment accounts. But what I thought I'd do today is just give you a brief, 5-minute overview of who we are, who SAP is, and how we apply to your industry. So globally, we're the #1 IT market leader in enterprise applications. We've been operating for a bit over 40 years now, with over 80% of our customers in what we call the small and mid-sized enterprise space, and not many people know that about SAP. They probably have the perception that we're a big company for big companies, but in fact, a lot of our customers, in fact, as you can see on the slide, 230,000 customers worldwide are in the SME space. And in order for us to be able to scale down to the different levels of market segments of accounts with revenues below 100 million or revenues above $1 billion, we operate a phenomenal ecosystem of partners like Savantis that come in and provide us the ability to sell our software and our solutions to those accounts with greater flexibility and intimacy and what I like to call agility. So the story that Robert spoke about earlier about implementing a solution in 12 weeks is something that we look to our partners to really do through these rapid deployment solutions, and it's been a very successful model with Savantis, and it's a model that we have with other partners around the world. Next slide, please. So 4 years ago, I was asked to help start this focus on sports and entertainment. As you can see on the left-hand side, this is all of the industries where SAP has a specific area of focus. And we started this sports and entertainment practice a little over 4 years ago when we were leveraging some of the relationships that we had through our marketing partnerships and sponsorships in the sports world with NBA and NFL and NHL, and Cirque du Soleil is another one. And at that point in time, our global leadership team said, we see the business pain of companies in this industry, and we think we can provide great solutions that can help them run better. So we created a formalized industry. Now, what does that mean? That means that we would then have a product management team. We have product development resources that are looking to develop industry-specific solutions for this industry. And then we also create a go-to-market sales strategy and coverage model for all of the accounts that roll up into this industry. So in the world of sports, we cover leagues, teams, venues, and associations. And then in the entertainment space, we cover the gambling side of things with casinos, gaming companies, betting companies, lotteries, but also more so on the traditional entertainment side, we look at amusement parks and theme parks, museums, cultural attractions, and of course theaters and cinemas. So having this dedication knows that we are strongly committed to this industry and will continue to focus on this industry for many years to come. Next slide, please. So when we look at the entertainment industry, the way that we look at this is through the lens of 3 key areas of your business. One in the area of customer engagement and giving you the ability to engage and monetize with your fans or with your customers, excuse me. In the second pillar, how can you maximize your capacity? So strategically, where are there areas for you to improve your overall efficiencies within your business? And then in the operational side, which is what Robert spoke about earlier, how can you scale your business by providing real-time visibility and control across the entire business unit? And this is really where the example that Robert mentioned earlier with ArcLight, where they were able to look at finance and procurement applications from SAP to really get a better handle on their overall organizations. And you heard, I think they mentioned they had upwards of 38 million transactions in the system after 5 months of implementing it. That gave them great visibility with the reporting and analytics layer from Fiori that was created in the overall stack. So operations is something that is what I consider to be our true bread and butter. And through the work with companies like Savantis, the partners that understand our system extremely well and can implement it in a way that is configurable for your needs, this is really how we can look at helping you define your success as you go forward so that we can help you run simple. Next slide, please. I won't go into a lot of detail here, but what we have here is across those 3 key pillars or those 3 key areas of your business, we have specific solutions. That is, we have specific solutions that look at marketing and sales and commerce, but also look at strategic demand management and business operations. We have a large portfolio of solutions within the SAP stack, and I think it would be, I don't have the time to actually go through the details here, but looking at what your business pains are, I believe that we could certainly have a discussion and see how SAP can help you in your areas of concern. So with that, I think I'll turn it back over to you, Robert. I believe this is my last slide. Let me turn this back over to you, and then we can get into some Q&A. But if anyone needs to contact me or would like to reach out to me, here's my contact information. And why don't we get into some Q&A right now, if that's okay?
Great, thank you, Frank. So this is the way you can reach us, and this will also be in the detailed information that we will send you as a follow-up. So let's go over to some questions. So let me see what we got. One question here is, what is the cost? That's a good first question. What is the cost? So if you look at the way that we deploy SAP in this particular case, we call that SAP as a service. So SAP as a service is then the hosted version that includes the SAP software. It includes the services, the infrastructural services that provide the continuity and the management of it, doing the disaster recovery, the backups, the basis, which is SAP's technical support, as well as the hosting itself. So all of that is sold for a single amount, right? Easy to understand, easy to buy, easy to budget for. So that is sold for $195 per person per month, right? And then certain volume discounts apply if you buy a lot of it. So for the ERP, there's no additional software to buy, etc. It's very easy because SAP makes it easy for you to kind of just use the software, and then they hope, obviously, that the user community will grow. So the only thing that basically it scales up with is the number of users. So $195 per user per month. That's all that it would take, plus then the setup cost, which is dependent on the complexity of it. But as you saw, if you can do it in 12 weeks, obviously there is also a much more limited investment than what most people would expect for the deployment of such a sophisticated system. But that's the answer. Let's see the next question. What mobile apps were these? Okay, so the mobile apps that were deployed in the case of and we've done that for every customer because we find mobile applications are a great way to interact with SAP. So these were apps, in this case, that did purchase requisitions. So if somebody at the cinema level finds that they really need to be buying something in a hurry, they can put in a purchase requisition, very streamlined through their mobile application. Somebody else authorizes that then. There is an app for purchase receipts to basically record when the goods arrive. There's also an app for cycle counting and cycle counting approvals. And there is another app for scrap management. So if somebody drops a bottle of wine, you want to account for that as well and know who did it and when and where. So there's an app to upload that type of information as well. So very streamlined apps. Again, those things. Actually, one of the cinema managers said these mobile apps are really a game changer for us. So that they really make a difference. Okay, one other question here. What is this? Oh, what integration do we have on in these, and what other systems are being deployed? Well, one thing that comes to mind is the integration with the point of sale system. In the case of ArcLight, it was Vista, which which is also the point of sale system, kind of widely deployed in the cinema industry in the US. So we have a standard integration with that system already, as well as others. SAP sort of is really kind of, I think, a market leader also in integration with other systems. They realize that ERP never stands on its own. There's always these other type of systems that they have to interact with. So they've got a great kind of methodology and tools to do that kind of integration, to get data in and out of kind of the SAP system. So we're using those to the full. And again, that all happens in the background as far as the customer is concerned. One other thing that we're also working on is something specific to this industry, which is film rentals. There's some sophisticated applications, as you all know, that try and capture those type of difficult kind of arrangements and those different type of variables that you have for how much do you owe, what is the rental agreement that you have. Can differ by cinema, can differ by time, can differ by category, etc. All those different kind of things we can manage as well in an SAP type application. All right. Any other questions? Okay, so those were the questions that we had. Any more? Okay, good. I think that wraps it up for us. Thank you very much for your attention. As we said, Frank and I are contactable through the details that we'll send you in the handout, and we look forward to hearing from you in the near future. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.